Hey, what's up? This is Jared with the iPhone App Podcast, and I'm going to go over a fix that I've kind of came up with by trial and error and by doing some reading online and seeing what some other people are doing as well, to the problems with the phone, the iPhone needing to be restored all the time and applications freezing and stuff like that. There are some things that you can do to kind of prevent. I don't think that there are fixes that can be done that are going to fix this forever, but there are things that you can do to help prevent issues with your phone. So you can also read about these things by going to the website, of course, the iPhone App Podcast at iPhoneAppPodcast.com, and then of course subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and all that good stuff so that you get all the updates and reviews on the applications. But first thing that you're going to need to do, which I didn't do at first, but it's a good tip, is actually go into Preferences in iTunes and go to the Syncing tab at the far right and choose Disable Automatic Syncing for iPhones and iPods. Now, the reason that you would want to do this is because a lot of times your phone is in the middle of doing something. If you're familiar with the little thinking icon up there in the front, then you know what I'm talking about. Like, the iPhone is half the time doing some thinking. And if you interrupt that process while it's thinking, especially if you go to delete an app while something else was going on or whatever, you could create a file to become messed up, or for lack of a better term. And then when a file is messed up on the iPhone, obviously it creates issues for everything else, and then you're unable to use your phone. Basically what I did yesterday, I had my iPhone freeze up on me like it has done many times, and I decided, okay, it has to be when I ran an update, because I ran an update and then my phone had issues. So I decided I'm going to delete everything off of my phone and then run a restore, and I'm going to turn off the updates for, turn off sync applications in iTunes. And so that way my iPhone will have 0 applications on there. It'll delete everything. It deleted all the apps except for one, which I had to manually go in and delete, by pushing down on an icon until they start to bounce and then hitting the X and deleting that application. And then after I did that, I had no apps on there at all except for the original apps that started out on the phone. I did a hard reset, and you do a hard reset on the phone by holding down the top button and the home button at the same time, and then shutting off the phone. So I did that, and then I actually used iTunes to manually put a couple of apps back on the phone. I put Twitterrific, Pennies, and Simplify Media back on my iPhone, and those were the only apps that I put on there. And so I didn't seem to be having any issues, just with a couple of apps. Obviously, it's only been 24 hours, but it's been working just fine. So I decided that I am just going to use iTunes only to manage my apps. I'm not going to use the App Store on the iPhone, because if you do too many things at once, there's that chance of a file becoming corrupt and then your iPhone having issues. So I actually even moved the App Store to the 3rd page. It's all the way on the 3rd page by itself, and that way it's out of sight, out of mind, so I don't give into the temptation of wanting to go in and, look at apps and download stuff. I'm going to do all of that from iTunes now and just deal with it that way. Now, I have been reading online and hearing some rumors that, Steve Jobs is going to release, a fix for all these issues, or Apple's going to release a fix. I'm sure Steve has a little to do with it. To fix these issues, but of course the last 2 updates were supposed to have fixed these issues. So these are things that you can do to hopefully prevent, having to deal with all this nonsense and these problems that keep coming up with the iPhone, which obviously are major setbacks. I hate having to restore my phone, especially all the way to default. It's just a big pain in the butt. So that is something that I have been doing here for the last 24 hours and haven't seemed to have any issues, and I'll continue to update on that. Before trying this, I was having issues all the time. Not every day, but when I went to install apps, I definitely ended up having issues. So give this a try, and there'll also be some links that I'm going to post on the website to some other people's opinions and things that they're doing to prevent iPhone crashing as well. But I think the key is use iTunes. Either only use iTunes to do your updates or only use the App Store to do your updates, not both. And if you are doing anything on your iPhone using the App Store to install apps or install updates, make sure that the iPhone is done thinking before you go and move on to another one, to prevent some file becoming corrupt because it jumps over to the next process. So especially if your phone shuts down or something like that, or freezes and resets in the middle of some sort of an update, best thing to do is just to go and do a restore, and restore it to the previously saved state that you had with your phone. So that's going to do it for this lengthy little update thought here. So feel free to go by the website and give your thoughts as well, and post your comments about these ideas, and let me know what's worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. So till next time, this is Jared with the iPhone App Podcast.